Hello there, welcome to the Render Podcast. I'm your host, Cam, and I am so excited to be talking all about trade and sponsored events. If you have been in the event industry for any time at all, you know that you will get asked to sponsor an event or do a trade with someone for free products and free rentals. And so I'm here to talk to you all about what to ask for, how to qualify them, benefits to sponsoring and doing trade agreements, and what you should ask for and follow up with once you decide to do them. So listen into today's episode. If you don't know, we have a YouTube channel, and all of these podcasts are video recorded. You can go over to our YouTube channel by clicking on the show note links below or just searching Render Collective on YouTube. You can go there and see all of these podcast episodes. You can see me actually teaching and talking to you from the camera. And we'd love for you to go check that out. Some of you guys are car listeners, so keep listening where you're listening to it. If you love to do it in the car, please don't watch video while you are driving. All that to say, we'd love to see you over on our YouTube channel. You can also see some event videos over there and other things like a tour of our warehouse and things like that too. So go check it out. Anyways, on to today's episode on the Render Podcast, all about trade and sponsored agreements. All right, friends, we are so excited to be talking all about trade and sponsored events today on the podcast. Man, if you have been around for any amount of time in the event rental world, you know that you have likely been asked to sponsor an event for free or give someone some rentals for free because it's going to benefit you. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And so today we're going to be talking all about what that means. When someone wants you to sponsor an event, I will pretty much guarantee you they are asking you to do something for free, whether it is your time, your money, your sources, whatever it might be. They are wanting stuff for free. And there's great benefit to doing that, but you have to ask the right questions. And so before we start deciding if we're going to do it or not, we need to qualify this event or qualify your client who's asking for it. And this could be anyone from in the industry who does events. It could be styled shoots. It could be networking events. It could be just sponsoring something to get exposure and marketing material from. And so there's multiple different reasons why people ask for them. But if you have not already been asked to do something for free, be prepared because they will ask. We've been in business for almost 12 years, which is crazy. But we've been in business for almost 12 years, and we've been asked at least multiple times every month to do a sponsored event. It's at least once, if not 2 or 3 times, and that's been every single month for every single year. A little less so over the pandemic, but still nonetheless, we get asked all the time still. And so some things to qualify your client or the event happening that they are asking you to sponsor or do a trade with. You have to qualify based on the dates. Are you even available on those dates? A date for their event makes a huge difference on whether you physically can or cannot do the event. So that's an easy yes or no. The other thing is timing. If you are trying to sponsor an event, but they have to have it there on a specific day or a specific time of day, but you've already got prior commitments, then that's an easy yes or no as well. You also want to figure out who is photographing this event. Photographing it and getting the images afterwards is a huge deal because if you don't have great photos, then what was the point of sponsoring this event in the first place? Most of the time we want to sponsor or we do a trade with someone because we want to get something of value out of it. And the biggest thing for rental companies is the photos that you get afterwards. We did a sponsored event a couple years ago and even just last year, in November of last year. And it was an amazing organization, something that we've given back to over and over and over again. And typically we get some really great marketing. We get really great referrals after we sponsor their events. And we'll continue. We just are going to be a little bit more careful in the future. But this particular event, we spent a lot of money on. We did floral, we did rentals, we did custom design. We did a lot for this specific sponsored event. And we were hoping to get really great photos because the event was not only beautiful in the way that we designed it, but we also worked with some really great planners to do it as well. We worked with other vendors that were awesome, And we worked at a venue here locally that fits our aesthetic, and the rentals and the floral just looked amazing, to be honest with you. And we were super excited to get the photos back. And unfortunately, when we got the photos back a couple weeks later, they weren't good at all. We couldn't use the photos. They had flash photography on them, which in the space that it was in, it did not need flash photography. The things were not the same color as they were in person or as they would have even been on an iPhone. And so thankfully, we have set up in place, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, a system where our content manager can go on site to events and take photos with her really great iPhone. Or we are looking into buying a camera here soon that we can go capture our own content so that that doesn't happen again, because it was a really big bummer. Not only did we get some referrals at the event and people who trusted us because of our design because they attended the event, but unfortunately we couldn't share with the world and we couldn't share with everyone else about what we did because of the photos. And with an event like that, an iPhone photo is great for social media, but putting that photo on your website or putting it in an email blast or something like that, you can't do that with an iPhone photo. And it still look really great. And so while iPhones have come a really long way, they still have a really long way to go compared to a professional camera. And I am no photographer, and I know my photographer friends would be really appreciative of me saying that. But there's a big difference between the two, especially depending on where you want to put it. So that's the first, that's the third thing that we need to look at. So we need to look at dates, times, who is photographing, and then what items they need. So as a rental company, we can only rent something if it's available to rent. And so if someone is asking for a specific rental item, obviously that's a yes or no because it's either rented or it's not. And then the location of it. If we get a request to do a sponsored event in New York City, being in Dallas, Texas, my immediate answer is no, because we don't live there and we don't have rentals there. And so it would be really hard for us to go and do a sponsored event in New York City when, one, that's not our ideal market, and two, it would cost us a lot to get there. And same thing in your area. If you are for example, DFW is made up of two large cities, Dallas and Fort Worth. And while we serve the entire Metroplex, and we actually serve the entire state of Texas, if our marketing, again, if our marketing was only for Dallas-based events and this event was in Fort Worth, we also have to consider, is doing an event in Fort Worth and sponsoring and hopefully getting clients in Fort Worth, does that match my marketing plan? And that's a yes or no. So even if the event isn't super far away, but it's maybe in the next city over from you, perhaps that's not in your plan. Maybe you don't want to do events in a city that is even 20, 30 minutes away from you. So multiple things that we need to consider when we're qualifying our client. So that's the first step. You need to qualify your client or qualify the event that's happening. The second thing that you want to look at is the benefits of sponsoring. So while it's all well and good to sponsor events, there has to be a mutual give and take to this process. And the biggest one is when you're sponsoring a networking event or a grand opening of a store or a styled shoot or something like that. You want to know, what is the benefit? Why should I go and sponsor this event? And usually it's for one of two or three reasons. So the first reason is it gets your name out there. It gets your business name out there. You get to show off what you do. In my opinion, when we go and sponsor a networking event where there's other professionals in our industry who would likely refer our company, it's a really great thing for me to sponsor those networking events. We actually work it into our budget every year that we sponsor a few of our local networking events here in the events industry. Why that is really special to us is, for example, a few years ago, I went to a networking event locally, NACE, National Association of Catering and Events. And I had sponsored the event, and I was talking to a wedding planner friend of mine, and she was like, "Oh, what do you do?" We were, getting to know each other. She was like, "What do you do?" And I said, "I actually own a rental company." And she was like, "Oh, that's cool. What type of rentals do you do?" And I was like, "Actually, funny you asked. We do the rentals that you see here tonight. My company actually sponsored this event, and so you see the bar area over there. My company did all the bar area over there. You see the lounge area over there. That's what my company did as well. And so not only do they get to know you, but they also get to experience your product in person at this event as well. So they can go up to the bar and they can look at the bar and be like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. I can see how big it is and I can see how wide it is and the color tone to it and all that. So that's the first thing, is it gets your name out there. The second one is it connects you to more people. It connects you to that relationship marketing that we encourage all the time. We encourage you to go to networking events. We encourage you to go and have coffee dates with people. And so if you sponsor an event, this is helping you connect with other people. Like I just mentioned, I was able to connect with this planner and hopefully be able to do more events with her because I connected at a networking event and was able to show off my product right then and there instead of sending her to our website, which you have a 50-50 chance if she's actually going to go to your website. The other thing that this is really great for benefiting you is it gives you more content. It gives you more photos. It gives you more experience, more to add to your portfolio of what you can do. And usually a sponsored event, especially when it's a networking event or something that you have a little bit more control over the end product, is that you get to design how you want to design versus how your clients want you to design, right? We have all these events that we've done, and there's awesome events that we've done, and we love them, and we talk about them all the time, and we post about them. But us as a team, we also have some really great ideas that we've come up with that our clients either have not moved forward and done something that we've recommended them to do, or perhaps we see something on Pinterest or Instagram and we want to run a little bit further with that spark of an idea. And so we have these ideas up in our head that we want to do. And so a networking event that we're sponsoring or a styled shoot is a great opportunity for you to run with those design ideas and actually do something that you want to do. And so that in turn gives you more images to attract the client that you want to work with. And so those are the benefits to sponsoring. When we are going to sign up to do a sponsored event, we do have to have some sort of an agreement set up. Like something like, if I'm going to sponsor your event, I expect to get photos within 5 business days, or I expect to get photos within a month. If you're going to have me sponsor, I also expect you to tag me on social media. And so you need to figure out for you, marketing wise, what do you want to agree to in trade of free product? The big ones that I definitely would recommend is your photos. You want to have some sort of a turnaround time for your photos. And some of that does depend on your photographer. If it's a film photographer, it's going to take a little bit longer to develop those images. But if it's a digital photographer, they might be able to give you a sneak peek a little bit sooner. And so having some sort of a turnaround time for your photos is a great thing to add to your agreement. Social media tags, this is big because it's free networking and free marketing for you, and it's exposing your company to now a larger community and a larger area of people that didn't know about you or didn't hear about you before that. Tickets to the event, so this is something that you can ask for and negotiate for. Some will give you a discount code and some will just give you free tickets. And so if you're going to give even a discount towards an event or a free product for an event, it's important to ask to attend that event as well, because you want to make sure that your product is doing really well. You want to network and you want to show off what you're doing. And so that's a great thing to ask for. And then money. Sometimes people will say, hey, I would love to have you come sponsor, but we'd love you to do it for free. You can bargain and say, hey, I would love to do that, but I need you to cover my cost. I need you to cover this specific thing. I need you to cover the labor. And so figure out what your cost to do the event is and ask if they have any room in their budget to pay for some of the cost of doing the event. Some might be able to and some might not be able to. And a lot of that will depend if they are run by a board of directors. It is going to depend on the budgets that they have set up for the year when it comes to their events. And so some can and some can't, but it's important to ask for that. It's also important to agree to this legally. So not just a verbal agreement, not just an email agreement, but something that you both can agree to, sign off on, and move forward with. This is important to do with an attorney based on where you're at and based on the things that you want to ask for. Make sure when you ask for this agreement from an attorney that you make it easy to edit, meaning you want to add or take away certain benefits to sponsoring based on the clientele that you're working with. So it's important to make sure you add that for your company. I would also add that to when you're renting, for example, make sure you include your payment terms in this. It could be more of like an addendum that you add to your contract, but it is important to make sure that you have all the other things that you have in your contract: limited liability, emergency events, payment terms, damages, things like that. Those are still really important to put in your contract. And so if you use GoodShuffle Pro, like we always recommend, we'll put a link in our show notes for a discount code for you to use for GoodShuffle Pro if you don't already have it. But inside GoodShuffle Pro, you can attach different contracts to your events. And so you can create a new contract that's labeled sponsored events, and then you can put all that in there and then just toggle per event what contract you want to use for them. The other really big thing that we have to think about when we're doing a sponsored event is the follow through after the event actually happens and after that agreement is done. So let's say you do the agreement, they tag you on social media, they give you tickets to the event, they paid you, and you still are waiting on photos. Well, you need to make sure that you set reminders for yourself to remind them, hey, we agreed that you were going to have photos within this time frame. Will you make sure that that actually happens? Make sure you follow up about those things, because the last thing you want to do is come a year later and then you're thinking about that event and you're going to go try to find the photos for it and realize that you never actually got the gallery from that event. You put a lot of work into these sponsored events, just like you do with your paying clients. And so you want to make sure that you have everything you need to be able to go back and reference that event if you need to. All right, so that's what I have to talk to you about trade and sponsored agreements and events for today. You will come across it if you haven't already, and it's important to think about these things before it happens. I hope you've had a great day. I hope you are having a great week. And next week, we have our 100th episode coming out on the Render podcast, which honestly boggles my mind. I can't believe that we've already made it to 100. We've had this podcast for 2 years, and it's just really honestly exciting for us to get to 100 episodes. So tune in next week for my number one tip for all rental and small businesses in the creative industry. Bye, guys. Hope you have a great week.